Hello, Steve White's 89. Well, I'm continuing on with my Stephen King marathon. I think I might continue on doing these sort of themed marathons because I like it. Now, this time I'm watching Delores Clairbourne. Now, I think I kind of put off watching Delores Clairbourne because I did sort of unconsciously remember part of the story that I kind of forgot. Now, the film stars Kathy Bates from Misery, Christopher Plummer as a police chief who's after her. Jennifer Jason Leigh's her daughter, and then her husband is played by David Strathairn, and Vera Donovan, her employer, who's a very nasty rich lady, is played by Judy Parfitt. Okay, so there's sort of two stories from two different times being told, both times where Delores has been accused of murder. The first time was of her husband, and the second time is of her employer, Vera. Now, Vera is the current sort of story. Basically, the postman shows up and finds Delores Clairbourne standing over the body of Vera at the base of the stairs, and she's holding a rolling pin like she's going to whack her. So she gets taken away and charged, and the daughter gets a fax, because this is the 90s, this came out in 1995, that her mother's in trouble. So she comes, now she's a reporter, I don't know if she studied law or not, but she acts like she's a lawyer, but I think she's working as a reporter. So she shows up, her mum basically, she pretty much gets her mum out, because mum was being held even though she wasn't actually being charged. So she goes back to the home, and they have a bad relationship, because I think 15 or so years before that, Delores was accused of killing her husband, her daughter's father, of course. And she resents her for that because she believes she killed her. Now, she told us she didn't. She lied. She did kill him. She killed him partly out of self-defense, because she was an abused woman. She was an abused wife. But she did bait him, because she wanted to kill him, because she was trying to save her daughter from him. So that all happened on the day of an eclipse, 15 years before, and now we've got the new case. And what happened there was fairly simple. The rich lady she was working for, she started working for her just casually because she needed just money. But even though she was horrible to all her servants, she was rich. Her husband died and left her all her money, and she was just rich and bored. She eventually hired Delores to take care of the house off season when she wasn't there, and then she became a full-time maid, and then she became her carer, and then her companion. And the two women basically spent the last 8 years of Vera's life pretty much alone in the house together, taking care of each other, because they were basically just left with each other. No one else really was there for them. So they had a sort of forced sort of relationship, but they were friends, they were companions. It seems quite abusive when you see scenes with her, but it's all sort of explained in the film. Now, the policeman is sure that he killed her, that she killed him. She killed her, because he pretty much knows that she killed her husband back in the day, but he couldn't prove it. And it's like the only person he didn't get. So he's been holding this grudge for 15 years, and he's trying to get her on this because he feels like if he can get her on this, he can get her on that, or at least it'll make up for not getting her on that murder. So basically, the horrible part of the film comes out where he's not just physically abusing his wife, he does start to molest his daughter. And it's a fairly slow and ugly revelation, and the daughter doesn't remember any of it. And that's why she killed him. That's why Delores killed him, because what he did, and to stop him from doing it again. And she couldn't stop him through normal means. And the money she was saving up from working, he just came in, and because he was the husband, because he was a man, just basically spoke to the banker, and they basically gave him her bank account and all the money. So all the money she was saving up so she could mostly pay for the education of her daughter, but also so she could get out that way. But also, once she found out about the abuse, she wanted to get out and use that money to escape, and she couldn't. and she breaks down when talking to Vera, the rich employer, and she says, "Look, men die all the time and leave their money to their wives. There's probably a man dying right now, probably a husband dying right now," and she gets the hint. So she goes back and she knows that she can bait him easily, and just confronting him about molesting his daughter is going to be enough to set him off. And she basically says, "I'm going to put you in jail for this, for what you did." And he chases her. Now, she just recently found a boarded up well in the backyard, in the field or whatever next to them. So she runs straight for that, jumps over it, he falls through it and dies. So she didn't kill him, but he was holding on for a while, yelling at her and begging and then yelling. And he tried to grab her, and that's when he basically lost the piece of wood he was holding onto. It broke and he fell. And she let him die. In the book, she hears him yelling. I remember that, but that doesn't happen in the film. So that's how that happened. She eventually tells the daughter what happened and why, because the daughter remembers some of the times that Delores fought back and was violent towards him, and she basically has made her mother into the bad guy, and she does not understand. She's blocked it from herself, and she doesn't realise that her mother killed him to protect her. And she eventually realises this, and there's a very disturbing scene where she remembers a moment where her father molested her on a ferry, and she's actually seeing herself from outside, seeing herself as a girl, and you see her seeing it, remembering it, but it's like she's watching it happen, and it's all about the reaction of the victim and the way they've shot it. It's very interesting the way they've done it, and it's disturbing and it's horrible, and the father does a great job of playing a monster. They don't try and explain him or redeem him or anything. He's just a monster. He's just the evil that men do. And eventually they fix their relationship. She realises that her mother was not the monster, and she had left, but Delores made her a tape of the whole, like a confession of the whole thing, and she listens to that in the car when she's leaving, and she comes back because Delores is planning to just tell the police everything, and she believes she can just get through it by being honest. But of course, they just want a conviction. So, but she swoops in and saves her basically, because this guy just wants to get her because he didn't get her before, and she basically points out, look, you're not going to get this conviction, and you're just going to have another failure because it's the only person he failed to bring in. So it's like it'd be harder to live with two failures, so he just has to accept this one. So he gives it up, and she gets to go off because one of the reasons why they suspected that she killed her was that the Vera left her everything in the will. She left her $1 million, over $1 million, $1,600,000, which was a lot back then. I think it was in the 70s. That was. It was 15 years before, like 95, so it would have been late 70s, early 80s. Because I'm not sure if the film was actually set in 1995. It was just released in 1995. So it's a great film, great performances. Kathy Bates, she shares one of her favourite performances. I think it's one of her best. It's just really, really brilliant. There's a few moments between the Jennifer Jason Leigh and her that are just how they didn't get any Oscar nominations for this. It kind of got dismissed as a horror movie, but people have trouble categorising it. Is it a gothic romance? Is it a horror movie? Is it a psychological melodrama? Is it a psychological thriller? Is it a noir film? It's all over the place, and that's probably the reason why it had problem being promoted. Now, it cost $13 million and it made $46 million, so it was actually a bit of a sleeper hit. It was like number 2 at the box office and just sort of crept along for a while, doing fairly well because it was a good film, but it wasn't well promoted, and I don't think people knew how to promote it, and people probably were also afraid of the subject matter, which I totally forgot that part of it. I remembered she was in trouble for killing the husband. I forgot about the employer, and I forgot about the daughter and the relationship, and I forgot about that whole part of it. I guess I didn't want to remember it because it's just ugly. But great film, well shot. The murder takes place during a eclipse when the whole town is distracted, and the whole scene, because it's set outside, is all special effects, and it kind of shows, but it's kind of beautiful, and the whole film was shot well, but it kind of is clear that that's effects. But what else could they do? They had to stage an eclipse and a murder scene, chase scene through an eclipse with all the lighting and everything. They had to do it that way. But aside from that, this is a really great film, a really underrated film. One of Stephen King's best film adaptations, up there with The Green Mile and Misery and stuff like that. So glad I watched it again. I'm going to have to get a better copy of it because I watched it on YouTube and it looks awful. It's cropped and everything. But even though half the image was missing, it still was powerful, and I have to get a proper version of it, and maybe even a Blu-ray if they do one. But I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Really glad I saw this again. I knew it was good. I remembered it. I kept it. But I forgot how good the performances were. And I think I was kind of avoiding it because, like Apt Pupil, it just has that subject matter that's not fun to watch. It's not entertaining on that level, but it's still brilliant. I'm going to go. Bye.